Right now, the phone in your hand, the shirt on your back, the chair you're sitting in, and the solar panel powering homes across Europe most likely share one thing in common. They were made in China. Not just in China broadly, but in specific cities, each one hyper-specialized to dominate a single global industry so completely that if it stopped producing tomorrow, entire world markets would collapse within weeks. China's manufacturing output accounts for nearly 30% of everything the entire planet produces. That is more than the United States, Germany, and Japan combined. You heard that right. One country, 30% of everything on Earth, flowing out of a handful of cities most people have never heard of. What you are about to hear will permanently change how you see every product you own. And it starts in a city that was a fishing village just 40 years ago and is now the electronics capital of the entire world. Shenzhen, the city that builds your electronics. Pick up your smartphone, turn it over in your hand, look at it closely. The processor inside it, the display panel, the camera module. The circuit board connecting every component there is an overwhelming probability that every single one of those parts passed through Shenzhen before it reached you. This city of over 17 million people sits at the southern tip of China, and it produces more consumer electronics than any other place on Earth, not by a small margin. By a distance so large, it has effectively made every other electronics manufacturing city on the planet a secondary supplier. Shenzhen is home to over 900,000 manufacturing enterprises. Its Huaqiangbei district, a single neighborhood, contains the largest electronics components market in the world, where you can source every part needed to build virtually any electronic device ever made, often within the same city block. The supply chain density here is unlike anything that exists anywhere else. A product designer in Shenzhen can go from concept to physical prototype in 72 hours. In Silicon Valley, that same process takes weeks. But this is where Shenzhen's dominance becomes genuinely unsettling for every competing nation. The city doesn't just manufacture finished products. It controls the entire vertical supply chain, from raw component fabrication to final assembly to global export logistics inside one urban ecosystem. When Apple, Samsung, or any major electronics brand needs to scale production of a new device, there is effectively one place on Earth capable of doing it at the required speed and volume. That place is Shenzhen. Then comes the number that puts everything in perspective. Shenzhen's ports process over 25 million container units annually, making it one of the 4 busiest ports on the planet. Every one of those containers is carrying something the world already ordered and is waiting to receive. You don't just buy electronics from Shenzhen, you depend on it. And the world hasn't fully reckoned with what that dependence actually means. But electronics are just the beginning, because the next city on this list supplies something even more personal to every household on Earth. Yiwu, the city that supplies the world's small goods. There is a city in eastern China that most people in the Western world have never heard of, yet it has touched virtually every home, every office, and every celebration on the planet. Yiwu is not famous for building smartphones or electric vehicles. It is famous for producing everything else, the small, everyday objects that fill the world's shelves, drawers, and holiday decorations. Artificial Christmas trees, plastic toys, hair accessories, phone cases, candles, keychains, party supplies, stationery if it's small, inexpensive, and sold in bulk anywhere on Earth. There is a remarkable chance it came from Yiwu. The Yiwu International Trade Market is the largest small commodities wholesale market on the planet. It covers over 7 million square feet across 5 distinct districts, roughly the size of 1,700 basketball courts, placed side by side. It stocks over 2 million distinct product types from over 100,000 registered suppliers. Buyers from over 200 countries visit every single year to place orders that then flow outward to retail shelves on every continent. But this is where Yiwu reveals something deeper than just impressive scale. The city's manufacturing ecosystem is built on a model of radical specialization at the micro level. Individual factories in Yiwu don't make a wide range of products. They make one product, and they make it better, faster, and cheaper than anyone else on Earth. There are factories in Yiwu that produce nothing but a single style of zipper. at volumes that supply garment manufacturers across dozens of countries simultaneously. Then comes the part that is almost impossible to fully absorb. It is estimated that over 60% of the world's Christmas decorations are produced within Yiwu alone. One city in China manufactures the majority of the decorations used to celebrate a holiday observed by over 2 billion people worldwide. You have almost certainly owned something made in Yiwu. You just never knew where it came from. But if Yiwu supplies the world's shelves, the next city supplies something the world wears every single day. Dongguan, the city that makes your clothes and shoes. Look at the tag on your shirt. If it says "Made in China," there is a significant chance the fabric was cut, stitched, and finished somewhere inside Dongguan. This city in Guangdong province is one of the world's most concentrated garment and footwear manufacturing hubs, home to thousands of factories producing clothing and shoes for virtually every major global brand. Nike, Adidas, Zara, H&M, the list of labels with Dongguan somewhere in their supply chain reads like a directory of the entire fashion industry. But the tension here isn't just about volume. Dongguan's manufacturing ecosystem is so deeply integrated that a single city block can contain the fabric supplier, the cutting facility, the stitching factory, and the packaging operation, all within walking distance of each other. That supply chain compression gives Dongguan a speed advantage no competing textile region on Earth can match. A brand can place an order and have finished, packaged garments loaded onto a container ship within days, not weeks, days. Then comes the detail that reframes the entire fast fashion industry. When global clothing brands promise new collections every 2 weeks, dropping fresh styles faster than consumers can keep up, Dongguan is the physical reason that promise is possible. The city runs over 24 hours across thousands of facilities, with automation increasingly replacing hand stitching on high-volume lines, pushing output speeds that would have seemed impossible a generation ago. And it isn't just clothing. Dongguan produces a staggering share of the world's athletic footwear, the running shoes, training shoes, and casual sneakers that consumers across North America, Europe, and Asia buy by the billions annually. The shoe on your foot right now may have been assembled by a worker or increasingly a robotic arm in a Dongguan factory you will never see and never think about. Without Dongguan, the global fashion industry doesn't slow down. It stops. But clothing your body is one thing the next city furnishes every room you live in. Foshan, the city that furnishes the world. Walk through any furniture showroom in Europe, North America, or Australia, and you are almost certainly walking through a physical catalog of Foshan. This city in Guangdong province is the undisputed global capital of furniture and home appliance manufacturing, producing an estimated 30% of China's total furniture output, which itself dominates global furniture exports by a margin no other country comes close to threatening. Sofas, cabinets, ceramic tiles, kitchen appliances, bathroom fixtures, Foshan manufactures them all, at a scale and price point that has made it structurally irreplaceable in the global home goods supply chain. The city's Lekong furniture market alone stretches over 18 million square feet, the largest furniture wholesale market in the world. Thousands of manufacturers display products that ship directly to retailers and distributors across every continent, with buyers from over 100 countries visiting annually to place orders that will fill homes they have never set foot in. But this is where Foshan's dominance reveals its true strategic depth. The city doesn't just manufacture furniture cheaply. It controls the entire vertical materials, supply chain, ceramic raw materials, metal hardware components, upholstery fabrics, wooden panels, all produced locally, eliminating the import dependencies that inflate costs for every competing manufacturer in Europe, North America, or Southeast Asia. When IKEA, Ashley Furniture, or any major home goods retailer needs to source at global scale, Foshan is not one option among many. It is the default. Then comes the number that makes this concrete. China accounts for over 37% of total global furniture exports, and Foshan is the engine driving the largest share of that output. One city, in one province, of one country, is responsible for furnishing a measurable fraction of every home on Earth. The room you are sitting in right now may be more Foshan than you have ever stopped to consider. But furnishing homes is only part of this story, because the next city built an entire economy around something billions of people wear every single day. Guangzhou, the city that clothes every market on Earth. If Dongguan makes the garments, Guangzhou moves them to the world. China's third largest city is the textile and garment wholesale capital of the planet, home to the Guangzhou International Textile City, and a network of wholesale complexes so vast they process billions of dollars in fabric and clothing transactions every single year, supplying retailers, designers, and distributors from over 180 countries simultaneously. But Guangzhou's power goes well beyond wholesale distribution. The city hosts thousands of garment factories producing everything from luxury apparel to mass-market fast fashion, operating alongside fabric mills, dyeing facilities, embroidery workshops, and trim suppliers in an integrated manufacturing ecosystem that can take a clothing concept from raw fiber to finished, packaged, export-ready garment in a matter of days. No other city on Earth compresses that supply chain into a tighter geographic footprint. Then comes the part that reframes every retail buying decision made anywhere in the world. Guangzhou's Canton Fair, held twice annually, is the largest trade fair on Earth. It draws over 200,000 international buyers per session. Every major clothing retailer, every fast fashion brand, every department store buying team from Europe, North America, and beyond schedules its sourcing calendar around this single city's trade calendar. Guangzhou doesn't follow global fashion. Global fashion follows Guangzhou. And this is where the dependency becomes genuinely uncomfortable to sit with. When shipping disruptions hit Guangzhou's export infrastructure, clothing shortages ripple through retail markets on every continent within weeks. The world's wardrobes are not just influenced by this city. They are dependent on it in a way that no trade policy, no reshoring initiative, and no competing manufacturing region has yet been able to meaningfully address. You are not just buying clothes. You are participating in a supply chain that runs through Guangzhou whether you know it or not. But dressing the world is one kind of dominance. What the next city produces has taken over an entirely different global industry from the ground up. Chengdu, the city quietly powering your laptop. Most people associate China's technology manufacturing dominance with Shenzhen. But deep in southwestern China, more than 1,000 miles from the coast, Chengdu has been quietly constructing a parallel technology empire that the rest of the world barely noticed until it was already indispensable. Chengdu is now one of the most strategically critical semiconductor packaging and laptop assembly hubs on the planet, and the vast majority of consumers who own devices built here have no idea this city exists. Intel, Dell, Lenovo, and dozens of major global technology companies have established significant manufacturing and assembly operations in Chengdu, drawn by a combination of aggressive government incentives, a deep pool of engineering and technical talent from the city's universities, and infrastructure investment that transformed a landlocked interior city into a fully functional global supply chain node. The city produces a significant share of the world's laptop computers and handles semiconductor packaging for chips that end up inside devices sold on every continent. But this is where Chengdu's rise delivers its most important revelation. For decades, the assumption in global manufacturing was that China's industrial dominance was a coastal phenomenon concentrated in the Pearl River Delta and Yangtze River regions with direct port access. Chengdu shattered that assumption completely. It proved that China's manufacturing ecosystem had grown powerful enough to replicate itself deep inland, converting a city with no natural maritime advantage into a global technology production hub through sheer infrastructure investment and policy coordination. Then comes the part that should alarm every competing technology economy. Chengdu is not finished growing. The city's technology manufacturing capacity has expanded aggressively through the 2020s, with new semiconductor facilities and advanced electronics assembly plants coming online continuously. What started as a secondary tech hub is becoming a primary one. When you open your laptop right now, Chengdu may be closer to you than you think. Shenzhen, the drone capital of the world. You already know Shenzhen builds your electronics. But there is a second, more concentrated dominance hiding inside this city that most people never consider. Shenzhen is the drone capital of the Earth. DJI, the company that manufactures over 70% of the world's commercial drones, was founded here, scaled here, and still builds here. But DJI is just the most visible layer of an entire drone manufacturing ecosystem that has made Shenzhen the single point of origin for the majority of unmanned aerial vehicles operating in the skies of every country on the planet. The components, the sensors, the flight controllers, the camera gimbals, the battery systems, virtually every critical drone component has a supplier within driving distance of Shenzhen's city center. That supply chain density allowed DJI to iterate products faster than any competitor could respond, releasing new models before rivals had finished reverse engineering the previous generation. Then comes the part that reframes global security conversations entirely. Military analysts, border agencies, and defense ministries across the Western world have spent years grappling with one uncomfortable reality: the drones. Their own agencies, photographers, filmmakers, and agricultural operators depend on daily, were overwhelmingly built in one Chinese city. Attempts to develop competing domestic drone industries in the United States and Europe have consistently struggled to match Shenzhen's cost, quality, and production speed. One city controls the skies, and the world is still figuring out what to do about it. But controlling the air is one thing. The next city is quietly controlling something the entire world needs far more urgently: Baoding, the city powering the world's solar revolution. There is a city 2 hours south of Beijing that most Western consumers have never heard of, yet it is physically responsible for a significant share of the clean energy transition happening across Europe, North America, and Asia right now. Baoding is China's solar panel and electric vehicle components manufacturing hub, home to some of the largest solar photovoltaic production facilities on the planet, and a growing cluster of EV battery and drivetrain manufacturers feeding the global electric vehicle boom. China produces over 80% of the world's solar panels. A substantial portion of that output originates from manufacturing clusters anchored in and around Baoding. The solar panel on a rooftop in Germany, the utility-scale array powering a California suburb, the off-grid installation in rural Africa. The supply chain for all of them traces back to facilities in this region, with a frequency that should make every nation's energy independence conversation deeply uncomfortable. But this is where Baoding's strategic importance becomes impossible to overstate. As the world accelerates its transition away from fossil fuels, dependence on Chinese solar manufacturing isn't decreasing, it is increasing. Every new solar installation target set by every government represents additional demand flowing directly back to cities like Baoding. The world is trying to build a clean energy future, and it is building it with components from one Chinese city. But powering the world's energy future is only part of what China's manufacturing cities control, because the next city built its empire on land that required an entirely different kind of audacity. Wenzhou, the city that exports everything else. If every other city on this list represents state-directed industrial strategy, Wenzhou represents something rawer and more remarkable: a city that built a global manufacturing empire almost entirely through private entrepreneurship, with minimal government direction and maximum human ambition. Wenzhou produces the products that don't fit neatly into any single category: lighters, eyewear, valves, pumps, locks, low-voltage electrical components, shoes, and hundreds of other product types that collectively supply industries and consumers across every continent. China produces over 70% of the world's lighters, and the overwhelming majority of those come from Wenzhou. The city's eyewear manufacturing district produces hundreds of millions of glasses frames annually, supplying optical retailers globally. Its valve and pump manufacturing cluster supplies industrial infrastructure projects across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. But what makes Wenzhou genuinely extraordinary is the model it pioneered. Long before China's coastal manufacturing boom, Wenzhou entrepreneurs were building small factories, finding export markets, and scaling production through family networks and private capital. The city essentially invented the private manufacturing playbook that the rest of China later adopted at national scale. Then comes the payoff. Wenzhou proved that China's manufacturing dominance wasn't just a government project. It was a cultural one driven by millions of individuals who decided that making things for the world was the most direct path to prosperity. And when you put all 10 of these cities together, the full picture of what China has built becomes impossible to look away from. The reality behind everything you own. You have just traveled through 10 cities, 10 urban manufacturing ecosystems, each one so specialized, so deeply integrated, and so globally indispensable that removing any single one of them from the world's supply chain would send shockwaves through industries, retailers, and consumers on every continent simultaneously. Shenzhen builds your electronics and controls your skies. Yiwu fills your shelves and decorates your holidays. Dongguan stitches your clothes and assembles your sneakers. Foshan furnishes your home. Guangzhou moves the world's fashion. Chengdu powers your laptop. Baoding captures the sun and stores it in your electric vehicle. Wenzhou makes the 10,000 small things nobody thinks about until they're gone. This is not a collection of impressive manufacturing statistics. This is the physical architecture of the modern world, built city by city, factory by factory, product by product, over decades of deliberate, relentless, and breathtakingly effective industrial development. And here is the truth that sits underneath everything you have just heard. The global economy doesn't simply trade with these cities. It is structurally dependent on them in ways so deep and so normalized that most governments, most corporations, and most consumers have never stopped to fully confront what that actually means. Every time store shelves go empty, every time a product launch gets delayed, every time a shipping disruption sends prices spiking across an entire industry, the root of that crisis traces back to the same reality. The world's production capacity is not spread evenly across nations. It is concentrated, deliberately and strategically, inside a handful of Chinese cities that the vast majority of people on Earth will never visit, never think about, and never consider until something goes wrong. And when something goes wrong, it goes wrong everywhere at once. Until the sneakers aren't available in your size. Until the laptop you ordered is back-ordered for 3 months. Until the solar panels your contractor needs are sitting in a port on the other side of the world with no delivery date. That is the moment the invisible becomes visible. That is the moment you feel, personally and directly, just how dependent the life you live every day is on cities whose names you couldn't locate on a map an hour ago. Behind almost everything you use, touch, wear, and depend on, there is a Chinese city running at full capacity right now, building the world you live in. It was doing it yesterday. It will be doing it tomorrow. And the world has no plan for the day it decides to stop.